My mother humiliated me for years and sabotaged my relationship by telling my girlfriend I was dangerous, so I made her the joke of her own birthday and started a secret war she never saw coming. You know that weird gut feeling you get as a kid that something's off about the way your family treats you, but you can't explain it? That was my life growing up with my mom. She had this uncanny ability to praise me in front of others while slowly dismantling me in private. It was like being patted on the back while someone quietly slips a knife between your ribs. From as early as I can remember, my mother, let's call her Linda, treated me like an emotional punching bag. To outsiders, she was charismatic, clever, even charming. But at home? She was meticulous in her destruction. She called it tough love, but there was never anything loving about it. When I got my first girlfriend in high school, Emily, Linda didn't even wait a week before planting her seeds. I overheard her one night on the phone with her sister whispering, "She's not going to last long. That girl thinks he's more confident than he is. Just wait." I was 17 and already second-guessing every interaction I had with Emily. I didn't understand why my own mom would say that. I chalked it up to jealousy or maybe protectiveness. I was wrong. Linda never forbade my relationships, she did something much worse. She would be kind to the girls at first. Invite them in, give them compliments, even little gifts. But then she'd start making comments like, "Has he told you about the incident in 3rd grade? The one with the scissors?" There was no incident. Ever. I even asked my old teacher. Or she'd say things like, "You're such a sweet girl, I hope he doesn't lose control again. He's been better lately." I didn't know she was doing this at first. I only knew that every time I got close to someone, they'd suddenly pull away. Girls I thought were serious would ghost me or start acting like I scared them. I started internalizing it. Maybe I was too intense. Maybe I was emotionally unstable. Hell, maybe I was dangerous. I didn't connect the dots until I was in my mid-20s and dating Jess. She was different, older, more grounded, worked in social work, and could smell bullshit from a mile away. Things were going great until the first time she met Linda. At the dinner table, Linda was on her best behavior for about 10 minutes. Then she dropped this gem. "Jess, I'm just so glad he found someone who can handle him. After that whole restraining order mess, I worried he'd be alone forever." I nearly choked on my lasagna. What restraining order? I looked at Jess and she was staring at me with wide eyes. I stammered that never happened, but Linda just chuckled and waved it off like she was joking. Jess didn't laugh. Later, I asked Jess what she thought of my mom. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I think she's trying to make me afraid of you." That night, everything clicked into place. The weirdness with past girlfriends, the sudden drop-offs, the panicked eyes they had right before they ended things, it wasn't me. It was Linda. And she wasn't trying to protect me. She was trying to own me. Every relationship I had that pulled me away from her was a threat. Every step I took toward independence, she saw as betrayal. But Jess was the first one to call it out. She even told me I needed space from Linda. And that's when Linda went nuclear. She called Jess in the middle of the day while I was at work. Told her she needed to warn her woman to woman. Claimed I had violent tendencies. That I had once kicked down a door during an argument never happened. That I had episodes. Jess, to her credit, told me everything and cut Linda off. But the damage was done. Our relationship never fully recovered. Jess stayed for a few more months, but she pulled back. I could feel it. Like a dying light bulb. After Jess left, I confronted Linda. I asked her point blank, "Why do you keep doing this?" She gave me this deadpan look and said, "I'm your mother. If I don't protect women from you, who will?" That broke me. For a while, I thought maybe I really was the villain. I started therapy. I went deep. And my therapist said something I'll never forget. Abusers often project. If she's afraid of you becoming dangerous, ask yourself, what's she really afraid of losing control over? And there it was. Control. Linda didn't fear me. She feared my independence. She couldn't manipulate a son who was in love, or happy, or living far away. She needed me broken, insecure, questioning myself, so I'd come crawling back to her arms, the only place that felt safe because she made the world feel unsafe. That was the moment I decided things were going to change. But I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I started watching her. I started planning. And I waited for the perfect opportunity. It came in the form of her 60th birthday party. Linda's 60th birthday was shaping up to be the Super Bowl of her life. A grand celebration for the queen of her own little narcissistic kingdom. She rented a banquet hall, sent out embossed invitations, told everyone to dress to impress. She even hinted that there'd be a local journalist there for some profile piece. "They want to do a story on women who age with power," she bragged. I was barely on speaking terms with her by that point. But I got the invite anyway, hand-delivered with a note in her handwriting. Please try not to embarrass me. That was Linda for you. Her love was always a blade wrapped in a hug. At the time, I had just started dating a woman named Harper. Smart, kind, emotionally aware. Someone who made me feel genuinely seen. We'd only been together a few months when the invite came, and I debated even telling her about Linda's party. But I'd been honest about my mom from the start. Harper knew the backstory, and to my surprise, she actually offered to come. I want to meet the dragon, she joked. See where you learned to keep your fire. I said yes because by then I'd already made my decision. I was going to start a war. Quiet, tactical, and untraceable. I was done playing the loyal son. Done watching my life unravel just to keep her comfortable. But first, she had to take one final swing. The weekend before the party, Harper didn't respond to my texts for most of the day. First, I brushed it off. But then she called, voice shaking. I had the weirdest phone call, she said. My stomach dropped. She said she was your mom. She told me, you used to hit your ex-girlfriends. I froze. Harper went on. She said I should get out before I got trapped. She told me you were unstable, that you'd been hospitalized once. She said she was just trying to protect me. I didn't speak. Couldn't. I felt like I was watching my life happen from outside my own body. Then Harper added, but I know it's bullshit. She messed up by talking too much. Started mixing up details, got your ex's name wrong. And besides, I know you. I trust you. But damn, babe. What kind of mother does that? That night, I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Every flickering memory of her sabotage burned like little electric shocks behind my eyes. And that's when I knew. This wouldn't stop until I made her realize I could fight back. So I called in a few favors. One of my friends works in event planning. Another does lighting and AV work for weddings. I got the list of speakers for the party. Yes, she had people giving toasts, and I made a few discreet changes. Nothing wild. Just a couple of technical difficulties planned at just the right moment. A little visual aid during her birthday slideshow. I wanted her to feel what it was like to be the subject of rumors, to have her image slip. The party came. Everyone was there, her socialite friends, her wine club ladies, her church acquaintances, my cousins, her ex-coworkers. Linda wore a gold sequin dress and floated around like royalty. She kissed air. She laughed too loudly. And when she saw me and Harper arrive, her smile froze like glass. She walked over with that false sweetness and greeted Harper with, "Oh, you came. Brave." I cut in before she could go further. "Just here to support the woman of the hour," I said, clinking my glass against hers. "Let's make it a night to remember." An hour in, the toasts began. Her best friend gave a glowing speech, full of half-true stories about Linda's resilience. Then came my turn. I stood up with my champagne flute, Harper squeezing my hand, and said, "Tonight, I want to celebrate the real Linda. Not just the glamorous version we all know, but the woman behind the curtain, the protector, the storyteller, always willing to go the extra mile to keep others in line. Even if it meant bending the truth, laughter, nervous glances. And what better way to honor her than with a little video tribute? The lights dimmed. The slideshow began. Photos of her youth, her wedding, holding me as a baby. But then, a shift. I had slipped in a few extra slides. Text messages. Blurred for privacy, but clear enough to read snippets. "He gets obsessive. Don't tell him I warned you." I had to protect her from him. A quiet ripple went through the room. I stood there, holding my glass, smiling softly. Then the slideshow flicked back to baby photos. Like nothing had happened. Linda didn't say a word, but her hands were shaking. She excused herself to the bathroom. When she came back, she was pale, lips tight, and the party never quite recovered. I didn't confront her. I didn't explain, because that wasn't the end. It was the opening move. The party ended like a broken record, scratched, stuck, off-key. Linda never said a word to me that night. She barely looked my way after the slideshow. The chatter in the room had that fake, frantic tone people use when they're trying to act like nothing weird just happened. You could practically hear the mental gymnastics. Harper and I didn't stay long after that. We left right after the cake, which Linda barely touched. Her face was still locked in that frozen pageant smile when we said goodbye. The next morning, I got the first text. "MOM, that was low even for you." I didn't respond. Then came the second. "MOM, you embarrassed yourself more than me. People pity you." Still, silence from me. By noon, she'd switched tactics. "MOM, let's talk. I forgive you. I know you're hurting." Classic Linda switched from fire to martyr mode in 24 hours or less. But I wasn't hurting. I was planning. See, the slideshow wasn't just about public humiliation. That was just the spark. It was about disrupting her narrative. Linda's whole life was built on image management. If you can dent that even a little, she starts to unravel. Over the next 2 weeks, I started phase 1 of what I now call the quiet war. First, I contacted some of the women she'd scared away from me. I'd kept tabs over the years. Not all of them responded, but one did. Her name was Kaylee. We hadn't talked since college. She told me that after we broke up, Linda reached out again and told her I'd had a meltdown and gone off my meds. For the record, I've never been medicated. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but her saying that was pure fiction. Kaylee said she believed it at the time because Linda was so calm, so concerned. She was terrifying in this polite way, she said. I asked her to write it down. Not for revenge. For documentation. Then I started gathering messages, screenshots of texts Linda had sent me over the years. The emotional whiplash, the gaslighting, the manipulation dressed as motherly concern. I compiled everything. A digital dossier. Then I started slowly, quietly dismantling her network. Linda thrived in circles, church groups, Facebook mom pages, bridge clubs, wine clubs. I knew which ones mattered most to her. So I started leaking tiny truths. Not lies. Truths. With a twist of kindness. That's what made them land. Like posting on a church forum. Grateful for the ways my mother taught me to protect myself from toxic people even if she didn't realize she was the first one I had to escape. Or replying to a photo someone posted of the birthday party. That slideshow meant a lot. Sometimes the truth deserves a spotlight even if it's uncomfortable. It was enough to get people asking questions. Enough to make her paranoid. She called Harper twice. Once from a blocked number. Left a voicemail saying, "You're making him worse." She didn't know Harper had already saved the first message she ever got from Linda. The one where she was just warning her about my outbursts. We were building a case. But the moment I knew I'd truly gotten to her, she showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. Makeup perfect. Hair done. Smile brittle. I opened the door just wide enough to look her in the eye. "You're destroying your own family," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm just finally refusing to pretend we were ever whole." She started to say something else, but I closed the door. I didn't slam it. I just ended the scene. From then on, things got weird. She started posting vague Facebook statuses. So hard watching someone spiral and not being allowed to help. When you sacrifice everything for someone and they repay you with cruelty. Classic narc fishing. But some of her friends had seen the slideshow. Some had heard the whispers. A few even liked my posts instead of hers. That's when she made her biggest mistake yet. She tried to get to Harper's family. At a charity event, she approached Harper's mom and said, "I'm so sorry you got dragged into our family's issues. Just keep an eye on her. My son can be intense." Harper's mom is ex-military. She stared Linda dead in the face and said, "So can I." Then she walked away. When Harper told me, I didn't even flinch. Linda was lashing out because she was cornered. No control. No script. No way to twist things behind closed doors. She wasn't just losing me. She was losing her audience. And for people like her, that's death. So, the thing about narcissists, they don't explode all at once. They leak. Quiet little tantrums dressed up as righteous suffering. That's how Linda reacted after the party. She didn't confront me directly. She didn't apologize either. She just started her campaign. A long, exhausting drip feed of pity plays and whispers. She positioned herself as the heartbroken mother whose ungrateful son had lost his way. And at first, kind of worked. Couple of my aunts reached out. One of them, Aunt Marlene, called me crying. "She's so hurt, baby. She says you're in some kind of emotional crisis. That you're saying things that aren't true. She's worried you're sick." Sick. That word again. She'd used it on Harper. On Kaylee. Now she was floating it to the family. That I was unwell. Delusional. Dangerous. This was when I realized Linda wasn't just playing defense anymore. She was trying to turn the narrative into a full-blown smear campaign. So I made a decision. No more reacting. No more just waiting for her next move. I took control of the story. I reached out to Aunt Marlene again. Calmly. I didn't rant or accuse. I just explained. I showed her one of the texts Linda sent Harper. One. Her voice cracked. She said that. Yes, I said. And that's not even close to the worst of it. Marlene didn't respond right away. But the next day, she called again and said, I believe you. The day after that, my cousin messaged me on Instagram. Yo, why is your mom telling people you tried to kill yourself in college? You never told me that happened. Because it didn't. I was depressed, yeah. But I never made any attempt. Linda had twisted the truth like she always did. Taken something vulnerable and reshaped it into a weapon. That's when I posted the letter. It was short. Just a screenshot of a journal entry I'd written years ago. Back when I first started therapy. I blurred out some details but left enough in to show what it was. I'm scared I'll never be able to love someone without waiting for them to betray me. My mom made me feel like love was just another test. That post hit harder than I expected. Friends I hadn't talked to in years messaged me. Old coworkers. Even my high school English teacher. Meanwhile, Linda's page went quiet. No more cryptic martyr posts. No more selfies with Bible verses. Just silence. Then the real fallout started. Church stopped inviting her to host women's luncheons. Wine club canceled her birthday celebration redo. Her best friend ghosted her. Apparently, someone had sent the slideshow video to a few key people. I won't say who, but let's just say, I know it wasn't Harper or me. Linda spiraled. She called me at midnight one night, sobbing. Full breakdown mode. I gave you everything, she said. I sacrificed my whole life for you. It hit me in the chest not because I believed it, but because I used to. For years, I genuinely thought I owed her everything. That I was some broken child she lovingly carried through chaos. That I needed her. But she didn't carry me. She crushed me. And now, I was finally standing up. I don't need anything from you, I told her. Especially not your version of love. She hung up on me. That was 3 months ago. Since then, radio silence. My therapist says she's likely in a shame spiral. That narcissists either double down or disappear when their masks fall off. But me, I'm lighter. Harper and I moved in together. We painted the walls of our new place this warm, earthy green she loves, and every room feels like a fresh start. We adopted a cat. His name's Trouble. Fitting. I sleep through the night now. I don't flinch when the phone rings. And the best part? I don't carry her voice in my head anymore. You know that voice that says you're not enough? Or you're too much? Or you'll end up alone? That voice finally shut the hell up. I'm not saying I'm healed. Hell no. Some wounds don't scar over clean. But I'm not bleeding anymore. And Linda? Well, she's still out there. Probably drafting Facebook rants and telling strangers how her son changed. But for once, I don't care what she says. Because I changed on purpose. You ever win a war and feel weirdly hollow after? That's how it felt in the weeks after Linda went dark. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was suspicious. Like the eye of a hurricane. I kept waiting for her to pop up somewhere, maybe at my work, or through some flying monkey cousin who'd DM me a guilt trip. But nothing. Just static. For the first time in my life, my mother was quiet. Harper called it the grudge cocoon. She said Linda was probably retreating to lick her wounds and scheme her next move, but even that couldn't shake me anymore. My world had become something new. Something separate from hers. That's not to say there weren't aftershocks. One afternoon, I got a call from my uncle, her younger brother. We weren't close, but he'd always been a straight shooter. He asked if I had time for coffee. My first instinct was, here it comes. But I agreed. I wanted to hear what was going around behind my back. We met at a diner. He didn't waste time. I just wanted to say, he said, sliding his phone across the table, that I believe you. On his screen was a Facebook message Linda had sent him a week earlier. He's spreading lies. I'm being persecuted by my own child. He's unstable. Maybe inherited something from his father's side. I just hope he doesn't hurt anyone. Especially that girl of his. She was still at it. Smearing me. Rewriting the story. But it didn't hit the same. I looked up and said, she's scared because I'm not under her thumb anymore. He nodded. She's not used to being powerless. Then he said something that stuck with me. Your mom's always been dramatic, but I didn't realize how dark it got with you. I should have paid more attention. I told him it wasn't his responsibility. But deep down, I'd wanted someone, anyone, to see me back then. The bruises weren't physical, but they were real. After that, something shifted. Slowly, extended family started reaching out. Not everyone, but a few. People who'd never questioned Linda before suddenly wanted to understand both sides. I didn't give them the full dossier. I just said, there's my truth and there's the story she's telling. Believe what you want. But I'm done pretending she didn't mess me up. And that was enough for most. Meanwhile, Linda had her own reckoning. Remember that article she was supposed to be featured in? About powerful women aging with grace? Well, the journalist called me. Turns out someone had anonymously sent them a few screenshots from the slideshow incident. The editor decided to reconsider the piece. It never ran. Linda never mentioned it again. Her social life shrank like wool in hot water. Church ladies stopped inviting her to brunch. Her wine club moved their meetings to someone else's house. My cousin told me she still shows up to events, but quieter now. Less sparkle. Like she knows everyone's watching. Good. Let her feel the chill. Let her sit in the same loneliness she spent years creating for me. But I didn't throw a party. Didn't dance in the ashes. Because that's the thing about finally winning against someone like her, it doesn't bring the joy you imagine. It brings space. Stillness. The kind of silence that lets you breathe differently. And in that silence, I started rebuilding things that were always broken. I called Kaylee, the ex Linda ran off years ago. Not to rekindle anything, just to say sorry. To tell her I finally saw how messed up it all was. She forgave me. Said she always knew something didn't add up but didn't want to push me back then. I mended fences with an old friend too. One Linda had told I was using drugs back in college when I skipped a party because I was dealing with a panic attack. He admitted he believed her. Said he never questioned it because she sounded so concerned. God, she was good at that voice. But one by one I was taking the pieces back. Not to fix what she broke. That version of me is gone. But to build something new. Something mine. Harper has been by my side through all of this. She's the first person I've ever been with who doesn't flinch when I talk about the ugly stuff. She listens. She holds me. And when I wake up some nights shaking from dreams of my mother yelling, she just wraps her arms around me and says, "You're safe now." And I believe her. Because I am. I'm not my mother's project anymore. I'm not her victim. I'm not even her son in the way she once defined it. I'm me. And for the first time, that feels like enough.